Hey guys, this is Samuel, and I'm here with StJohn Cologne, and today we're going to be talking about his new iOS game, Robot Race. But before we do that, how about we get into the own person of StJohn Cologne? Why don't you tell us about how you got started in video games and what your role is in Robot Race and all that?
Well, all right. So my name is StJohn Cologne. I am a producer over at Easily Done Games. Easily Done Games is a young, feisty startup, and we are a team of video game veterans that have decided to pool our cunning and resources together to bring our love and passion of games to the masses. I'm a 15-year video game veteran, and I got my start long ago and far away as a concept artist at Square Enix. And there I learned how to model on the job because they needed a lot of modelers for the game I was working on, Parasite Eve.
Ah,
So took up character modeling, and eventually I kept picking up more and more tools as my career went on. The vast majority of my career was with console games, and while I was developing console games, I wore many hats, working as character modeler and character rigger. I also did feature-length animation for a Russian film, as well as level design, environmental design, user interface work, and eventually I led the art team on several projects at my previous studio, Heavy Iron. And today I am a mobile games developer by night, and by day I am running the faculty in the computer animation department at the Los Angeles Film School.
oh, that's nice. Can you tell us more about how iOS developing is just a lot different than console developing?
Absolutely. So right now, iOS development is right about where console development was back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Effectively, the iOS is a remarkable mini computer. It is capable of pushing several thousand polygons. Right now, we're able to build a scene with about 2,000 polygons plus, 2,000 polygons crackers. I want to say more than that. I would say we can easily push. I'm sorry, it's more like 20,000 polygons for a scene. Right now, our characters are hovering somewhere in the vicinity of 6,000 polygons, and that works towards the 20,000 polygon limit. When the physical limitation that the device is able to push will pretty much dictate what you can build in 3D. We are a 3D developer, and so just to put things in perspective, this is about where PlayStation 2 was back in the day. So whatever you could put into a PlayStation 2, you can pretty much expect on your iPhone.
Well, we've kind of seen that in physical representations, such as GTA 3 coming to the iPhone, right?
hmm
Uh, I also wanted to ask you, since you are an iOS developer, do you think Apple's major change with expanding the screen size with the new iPhone 5, how that's going to affect iOS development?
Well, it's going to directly affect development in a small way. The developers are going to have to consider a new screen size and a different aspect ratio, but that's really a small adjustment.
Yeah,
I think that the
but
big win is going to be for the players, because more screen real estate means a reduction of fat finger syndrome. You're going to have more gameplay space.
yeah, but isn't it also going to be extremely excruciating on you guys since now you have to develop for the iPhone 3GS, the iPhone 4, the iPhone 4S, the iPhone 5, and the iPad?
Um, it's going to be a minor hit to our development pipeline. We only have to accommodate one more screen resolution type, and we also have to consider the architecture. But since we are not developing directly in Xcode, we're using Unity 3D as our middleware. So much of the considerations, much of the hardware considerations, are effectively taken care of for us. We pay for pro licenses and the iOS, specifically the iOS license, for that reason, because with middleware you don't have to worry about keeping up with the technology.
Do you think it'll be difficult for a lot of the studios you've worked for and other developers to go back and update their older games for the iPhone 5? You know, stretching it out and changing the aspect ratio and all that.
Well, there's two strategies whenever you're developing for a new platform. Assuming the new platform is able to run the same executable as the old platform. Usually, it's in the platform owner's interests to make sure that they're backward compatible. Then they effectively only have to worry about any new aspect ratios, and that there'll be one of two choices. You can stretch the screen real estate, which can lead to some pixel mashing. You may not get as good a results as you won't have optimal results. Plus, it'll also squash some of the elements.
Well,
And the other,
Apple has stated that with the iPhone 5, iOS previous iOS applications will have letterboxes, and I feel that some people will feel that the app is kind of cheapened by that effect. So,
aha.
do you think a lot of developers will go back to their games and adjust it for the new size of the iPhone instead of keeping it the same way and having those black boxes at the end of their games?
Well, there you have it. Apple has already stated that anything with the old binary is going to be letterboxed, and that means that the developer is going to have to upload an iOS 6 specific binary for in order for the game to take advantage of the new screen real estate.
Do you think that's going to? Do you think developers are going to do that, or are they just going to keep it with the letterboxing?
Well, the high end developers, of course, will adapt because it is a hiccup, but it's something that you always have to plan for and budget for.
Well, one thing that I find interesting is that iOS games up to this point are kind of ageless. You know what I mean? Like you can still play Angry Birds, and you don't feel like it's a game from 3 or 4 years ago. But with this new letterboxing thing, it's going to become very apparent on what's an older game or what's a newer game, and people that are adopting the iPhone 5. It's not just all returning users. There's literally supposedly thousands, millions and millions of new users coming in with this specific product, and they're going to get it, and it's going to be very confusing to them when they just have this new product and some are letterboxed, some are not, and it seems like it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're really drawing attention to the fact that, hey, this is not this app was developed for a previous platform. But I think what you'll see is, if history is any indication, developers were very, very quick to respond to the new platform, iPad, when they rolled out the device, because iOS binaries would run on an iPad, but you would see it in a smaller format, and then very quickly you saw the iPad versions in the App Store side by side with the iOS versions.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that developers really caught on to that when it took Facebook and Twitter like literally months to get onto those platforms.
Well, I think that Facebook for sure had a lot more considerations than developers. Developers tend to be a little more nimble, um, but with all the money that Facebook has, you would think that they would be on it.
Yeah, and I think it was like almost a year after the iPad one before they decided to finally throw an app on the marketplace that actually accommodated the screen size.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in the meeting room when they were talking about iPad resolution. We'll just wait to see if this newfangled thing catches on.
It's so odd to see how Facebook used to be one of the most innovative companies, but now they're one of the most slow to catch on companies.
Well, Facebook used to be nimble, but now they are a big aircraft carrier. And as you know, from all of the practice that you've had steering an aircraft carrier, I'm sure, it's really, really hard to steer an aircraft carrier. They're rather slow and bulky. So once companies become large, it just becomes more difficult to make it work.
I think the exception to that is Twitter, though. If you've seen, Twitter's been the first one to jump on everything quickly, including OS 10 integration, iOS integration, whereas Facebook, as of yesterday, barely got that.
Well, I still think that we have exciting things to see from Facebook. And in my business of games class, I actually had my students do a thought exercise, and this was before the Facebook IPO,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked them the simple question: is Facebook really worth $1 billion? And what we did was we looked at all of we looked at their value proposition, and we actually wrote it out on the whiteboard and measured. And the largest valuation we were able to arrive at was a very, very generous $20 billion. But I still think that at $20 billion, Facebook still has a lot to offer the world, and I think that there's still great things to come from the company.
Well, that's good to hear. Someone has optimism about Facebook, because all I've heard from the press and other developers is doom and gloom.
Well, it's doom and gloom because, of course, everybody projected that it was going to have a much higher valuation, and when people realized that the company was not nearly as valuable as was thought, then what happened is the actual value of the stock.
Uh-oh. I think we're having another technical hiccup here.
Just kept plummeting, and that's what all the reaction has. The reaction has been. You don't see any. Yes, good old internet.
Yeah, that's what happened is that you cut out there for a second, then you came back in, everything was said really quickly.
No worries, no worries. It's the internet. You live by it and you die by it. But
yeah.
just to tie a bow on this point, even though Facebook was initially valued much higher, and all of the doom and gloom we've seen in the news has been surrounding the devaluation of the current stock. But you don't see any fewer people playing games at Zynga. I mean, they still they have a very, very healthy monthly average user for across all of their products.
Yeah. And I think that's very interesting, because people are always predicting doom and gloom, but I haven't seen anyone using Facebook less. That's the one thing I don't see. I hear all these people saying, well, people don't enjoy Facebook anymore, and there are a lot of new users, but they're not as active as they used to be. And it's just like, no, I don't see that at all. I see people just as active on Facebook as they've ever been. So,
precisely. And I think that if you look at the numbers tell you that Facebook is not growing nearly as fast as it used to. But first, it's still growing. Second, there are if people were bailing from Facebook, they'd be bailing to somewhere. And I don't see any other social media that's exploding right now.
Yeah, like the only argument I can see is kind of Twitter, but that's about it.
Well, Twitter understands what they do, and they do it well. And so I also expect good things from Twitter, because as long as they stick to their core competency, which is very, very small micro communications, then they'll be fine.
All right. So now that we've talked about things that don't relate to iOS games at all, for the most part, why don't we talk about your iOS game, Robot Race?
Absolutely. Well, Robot Race is an absolutely terrific game. It is. It's a racing game set in the far future, where the Earth's denizens have long abandoned the Earth and started mining colonies across the galaxy, and under the yoke of the Emperor, the Federation is able to come together on a regular basis to pit the champions of their homeworlds up against one another. And these champions, of course, are robot racers. And they come to Earth to prove their mettle. Aha, double entendre. and to vie for the grand championship. So as a robot racer, you are fighting against the AI with hopes of winning prize money to win glory and perhaps a little economic boost for your homeworld.
Yeah, one thing from what I've seen of the gameplay, it looks kind of like a roller rink meets Mario Kart future-esque type of deal.
Yeah, when we were building this game, we were really inspired by Transformers. We were inspired by Mario Kart, and we were, of course, huge fans of post-apocalyptic genres. And we wanted to build a game that really kind of had that feel. And we wanted to keep the gameplay engaging, simple, and make sure that the screen was uncluttered with anything except the basics, which is your power boost, your weapon, and the one thing that we did add to the controls. For those of you listening at home, this is an accelerometer game where tilt left, tilt right controls your robot as it races through the post-apocalyptic landscape. So we added a jump button, and we also added a brake button so that you can execute power slides. And the jump button really opened up a lot of gameplay because you use it to avoid missiles and leap over walls and leap over mines and all sorts of other hazards.
Yeah, one major problem with these kind of games though is rubber banding. What did you do as someone who helped balance the game? Kind of work with that.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that every single race was a really, really exciting and close race. And so we use an AI technique that gives all of the enemies very, very, very specific tasks. There's one robot that really likes to just like cling to your heels, and he's there nagging you all the time. There's another robot that really tries to optimize his path. He's the expert track optimizer, and he wants to carve the straightest distance to the goal. But he doesn't take advantage of a lot of the other benefits that you can gain as a robot racer, such as shortcuts and power power ups and weapons and that sort of thing. And then the other two robots are their main function is to try to mimic human players to the best of their ability. So, but ultimately, a really good robot racer who is being driven by a human being should be able to best the AI, even though they're not able to react nearly as fast, because a human being has cunning, and cunning is what it takes to optimize your path, because you can choose one path that will turn you into a race car, or choose another path that will turn you into an airplane and jet across the landscape.
So what it sounds like is that you tried to, not make it like Mario Kart where it's ridiculously easy, but not make it excruciatingly difficult. You tried to make the AI competent enough to keep up with you without having to, like what people say, rubber band and, boost the AI all the way up to you, even though they're, miles behind. But at the same time, you didn't want to make it so that it was too easy that you would lap, the racers.
Right. We were very conscious to make sure that every single time you played Robot Race, you would have a really, really exciting experience. And we spent a lot of time balancing the AI of our robots. One of the things that really helped us to balance the game was the power boost, which is the robots that tend to be a little slower have the ability to regenerate their power boost more often.
Oh, I see. So this is available for two platforms, which is the iPhone and the iPad, correct?
That is correct. Though we do have plans to roll out an Android version sometime before Christmas.
Is it going to be? Are you going to have two separate apps for one for the tablet and one for the phone, or are you going to try to incorporate them into one app and make it universal?
Right now we have two separate apps, one for the iPad and one for the iPhone. And the reason why is we really wanted to optimize the graphic experience for the player, and we're going to do the same thing for Android devices as well.
All right. How are you going to tackle Android's massive marketplace when there's thousands of phones on it? How did you work to try to tackle it to make it work on as many phones as possible?
That's a great question. Well, one of the things that we do is we search far and wide to find the absolute crappiest Android devices we can. Usually these are first generation Android devices. And we look at the market and we see how many are still in service, and we make a decision. We say, this is the line in the sand. These are the Android devices that we think we need to support, because there are still enough of them out in the world that the world needs to see Robot Race, and we're gonna make sure that we support these devices.
So you're not taking the Netflix route by making it only available for certain phones. You're going to try to tackle the entire marketplace.
We want to make this available to as many Android devices as possible, and we have an unfair advantage against other developers, because a lot of developers are developing in 2D, which means that they have created sprites that are optimized for a specific screen aspect ratio. However, Robot Race is a 3D game, which means we can scale our user interface and we can scale our game to render for any aspect ratio that we want to. And we were very cognizant of the challenge of developing for multiple Android devices, and we made that decision consciously.
Wow, that's an interesting point you brought up there. Is that why we don't see that many 2D games nowadays on modern consoles? Is to try to keep, because a 3D world is much easier to render that way?
Well, you're able to render for a larger variety of platforms. You don't have to worry about changing the aspect ratio to match the device. Otherwise, if 3D technology didn't exist, then black boxing would be very, very common, and you would see all different types of screen sizes. Or else developers would probably create some kind of methodology for scaling their screen. But then you'd see a lot of things that just looked weird. Like, sometimes when you take your TV and you go from a wide angle to a panoramic view, and the actors look kind of squashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what you would see.
Oh, that would not be very good at all, would it?
No.
Oh.
Especially for an action-packed game like Robot Race, you want to make sure that your characters are pixel perfect, and you want to make sure that the game is nice and responsive.
So how did you tackle the iPad? Like, you said that there's a lot there. You tried to make the best graphical experience for each user. So what's different about the iPad version of Robot Race in comparison to the iPhone?
Well, for one, it's a different aspect ratio, which means that iPhone is a shorter and wider landscape view than the iPad. The iPad is a 4:3 ratio, which is a lot closer to a traditional, one of the old school TV sets or one of the old school monitors. And the thing that we had to make sure was two things. One, that the iPad 1 game was not only pixel perfect, but also ran at a crisp 30 frames per second. And I'm proud to say that our game, on almost 90% of all visible parts of the tracks, run at nearly 30 frames per second. The only hiccups that we have drop down to maybe 27 frames per second, which is almost not even noticeable. That's a frame rate that's even faster than what you would see in a motion picture.
Wow. So, what graphical improvements did you make to the iPad version? Since the iPad version has the iPad has a lot more power than the iPhone.
Well, as mentioned earlier, because the assets are 3D, the only thing that we had to do was shift our user interface so that our icons landed in the right corners, and then the engine does the rest. Our texture maps were already designed so that if we were to render it, they would render it cleanly for iPad 2 resolution or lower. So we basically optimized our textures for the highest resolution device that we were building for, and then the engine does all the rest. It just renders out the 3D assets to fit the display of whatever device you're running on.
Oh, that's good. And what are the pricing models for Robot Race?
Well, Robot Race right now sells for $199, and
in the UK.
In the UK, well, you'd have to My powers of math are not strong enough to convert to pounds, but
It'd probably be around a pound 30 pints, something around
I trust your implicit skills.
that. Something around there, I would think. And
Yeah, so it's going to be equivalent to 199 US.
all right.
And we are, by the way, working on localizing the game for other markets as well, including Russia, Germany, China, etc.
And you were going to say the iPad version before I rudely interrupted you. How much it costs, or does it cost the same?
Oh, iPad version is also 199.
Wow, that's excellent because a lot of iPhone games I've had to review, the iPhone version is $1, and then the iPad version is like $6. Is there any specific reason for that?
Yeah, generally because the iPad version probably had to go through significant redevelopment and they're trying to recapture their costs.
Ah, I see. So is the iPad harder to develop on than the iPhone?
Well, it's no harder, but effectively, if you are not running a game on a 3D engine, then you're effectively rebuilding the engine from the ground up, at least on the rendering side. But if you're using a 3D middleware like we are, Unity 3D, then you don't have to. You hardly have to do anything. All you do is you write a little snippet of code that says, check to see if you're running on the iPad, and if the answer is yes, scale the UI elements out to these corners, and you're done.
Wow, so effectively for porting, 3D is just massively better.
Much, much, much better.
Wow, that's interesting. So is that why the industry tried to go to 3D and 2D games, aside from mobile platforms, have somewhat vanished?
Well, 2D still has a great deal of life, and some of my favorite games are still built in 2D. But 3D has inherent advantages that you simply can't do with 2D. There's no way in 2D that without doing an incredible amount of work and smoke and mirrors that you can spin the camera around an object. I mean, once you are 2D creates the illusion of three-dimensional space, but gameplay is largely confined to a flat surface. But once you're using a 3D engine, then your gameplay truly is in 3D.
So are there any additional details about Robot Race you'd like to, help our users learn about?
Well, one of the most exciting things about Robot Race is that when you start the game, you're representing the poorest of the colonies, and you only start with 2 robots and 3 tracks, and you've got to win races to earn enough cash to unlock new robots, new weapons, new tracks, and once you get to the point where you are an expert robot race, there's still more really cool things to buy. Every single one of our robots has three different custom paint jobs, and they are awesome. And one of my favorite is I love the Tron skin for Zipbot, and I also really love the retro Gundam robot skin for Truck. So we're those skins are available to purchase, and they're really a lot of fun. You can win races and earn enough cash to unlock the skins. But if you just gotta collect them all and you just want to have them, then you can always throw down a little more love and throw down a little more coin, either 99 cents, 199, or 299 US, and purchase enough crystals to buy whatever you want from the store.
So it takes like a freemium type model.
It is a freemium-like model. So we know that players love collecting skins, and they love collecting new weapons and new robots. And we said to ourselves, we want to make sure that the some people have the challenge. They have to work their tails off, and they need to earn all that cash to buy the skins that they want. Whereas other players just they want the casual experience. If you're a single mom, or you're a working dad, or you're a busy college student, you don't want to spend hours and hours and hours before you get the satisfaction of getting that cool paint job that you want. So go ahead and instead of buying coffee that day, just drop another $2 and get the skin you want.
So is there any plans to keep the marketplace updated with new tracks and skins and stuff for downloadable content?
Oh, absolutely. We already have 2 brand new levels that are in development, as well as new robots and new skins. And also, we are working on a multiplayer version, which
Oh, nice.
once the multiplayer version is out, it is going to be all over. Everyone all over the country is going to be playing Robot Race on their lunch break because, you gotta play King of the Apartment, and whoever finishes the race has the rights to the keys.
Is it going to be using Game Center or OpenFint or something like that?
Oh, we'll definitely be updating the next major upgrade. Will have a place where you can upload all of your achievements, because currently the players are not only winning races and earning cash, but they're also earning badges. And you want to be able to shout out to your friends and let them know who's king.
So is it going to use its own proprietary type system, or is it going to use one of the services I mentioned?
Right now, we've been looking at Game Center. Game Center, of course, is available to all iOS developers, and so it's naturally attractive. And we love the support that we get from Apple, and we're happy to support them.
All right, that's good. And you said that the multiplayer version's coming out. Is that going to be its own separate game, or is it going to be a free add-on for people who already purchased Robot Race?
Oh, we definitely want to make multiplayer available to all of our supporters, because without our supporters, we would not be able to. We wouldn't be here to bring you this fine game. So, players of Robot Race who purchase the game now can be sure that they will enjoy a free upgrade to multiplayer as soon as it's available.
And then you'll have a reason to buy all those skins and show them off, right?
Absolutely. You can't look like the standard robot when you're racing against your friends. You need that custom paint job.
So there's going to be tons and tons of new skins available. Are you going to, have a way to for the community to contact you and make suggestions on certain skins or types of skins or stuff like that?
Oh, sure. Well, we have a fan page. If you go to easylydongames.com, we would love for you to post to our Robot Race forum and tell us what you'd like to see.
All right, that's cool. And you said that there was going to be tons of new tracks available, so it's not going to be like a Mario Kart type situation where you're just going to have the default tracks and then hit a dead end. When are you planning to release those tracks, and are they going to be free, or are they going to be kind of like the freemium model, and you'll have to purchase them with crystals and stuff like that? Or
those will now the new tracks are going to be tracks that will be included in the initial build. So if you drop your $199 US and buy a copy of Robot Race, you're going to find that there are 2 brand new tracks that you can unlock. And remember, those tracks you can always unlock simply by winning races. And because we always want to make sure that the feisty player who just wants to earn their living always has the ability to do so.
all right, awesome. So, are there any other plans or other modes besides multiplayer modes like tracks or skins you want to hype up?
New robots, new weapons, new tracks, and of course multiplayer and Android all on the way. But for those who buy the game and are fans of Robot Race, I'm also very, very pleased to say that we have other games that are currently in development that you can see at easylydongames.com, including some really, really great throwback sports games. So I encourage everyone who are fans of old school arcade sports games to go to easylydongames.com and check out our stuff.
Awesome. And are these all going to be on the iOS platform, or do you have any other platforms in mind that Easily Done Games works on?
Well, our plans are moving forward to make sure that we are targeting iOS and iPad as our first platform and Android second. But I think that we are probably going to be releasing games in the future simultaneously across Android, iPhone, and iPad if we can help it.
Is there any plans to introduce Windows Phone to your plethora of platforms that you develop for?
Presently, we don't have any plans to support Windows, but I think that it is a brand new platform, and as the software development kit matures and developers become more comfortable developing for the platform, I think that it is very, very likely that we will be creating builds for Windows Phone as well.
Oh yeah, because Windows Phone seems to have a lot of gamers who game on Xbox side for it with all the integration with Xbox Live and stuff. So
and Windows is historically a really, really great platform to develop for because Microsoft has always prioritized making good tools for developers.
That's good to hear. To hear some positivity about Microsoft in the development scene, because you usually don't hear that too often.
Well, most of the adverse comments to Microsoft has been reserved for their business tactics, which in the past arguably has been aggressive. But if you are a developer for Windows, on the whole, you're very, very happy because they make great tools.
All right. Well, it was good hearing from you. Anything else you'd like to plug? Maybe a Twitter or Facebook page or stuff like that?
Well, if you visit easilydongames.com, you will notice that we have our forum there as well. And I would also like to mention that we do have a Twitter feed at Easily Done Games. So you can follow us at twitter.com/easilydongames. You can follow us at Facebook at facebook.com/pages/easily-done-productions-inc.
And
by the way,
I'll have all these linked in the bottom of the YouTube page and stuff as well, just so people can find them.
Okay, and that's we'd love to hear from you because, after all, we are building our games for the fans.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Okay, thanks so much, Samuel, for having me. It was a pleasure.